All right, everybody, welcome back for another deep dive. Today, we're going to get into something that I think we all kind of take for granted. I mean, we all know we have it, but it's not something we really think about too much until we need it. And that, of course, is blood.
Blood, yeah. You're right. We don't usually spend our days thinking about it, but it's literally the lifeblood of our bodies. Without it, well, we wouldn't be here.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
And one of the most interesting things about blood, at least to me, is the whole system of blood types. We've all heard of the basic A, B, O, and AB types, but there's so much more to it than just those
Oh,
letters.
yeah, for sure. There's a whole world of complexity behind those blood types. Genetics, evolution, medical implications, you name it. That's what we're diving into today.
Exactly. So let's start with the basics. Can you give us a quick refresher on what actually makes a blood type? Well, a blood type.
Sure. Basically, it all boils down to these little markers on the surface of our red blood cells called antigens.
Antigens, okay.
Yeah, you've probably heard of the A and B antigens. Those are the ones that determine your ABO blood type.
Right. So if I have type A blood, it means I've got those A antigens on my red blood cells.
Exactly, you got it. But it's not just about what antigens you have, it's also about the ones you don't have.
Okay, how so?
Well, your immune system is pretty amazing. It produces antibodies against the antigens you're missing. So if you have type A blood, you've got A antigens but no B antigens, right?
Right.
So your body's going to produce antibodies against the B antigen just in case it ever shows up.
Makes sense, I guess. So it's like a defense system against foreign invaders.
Precisely. That's why matching blood types is so incredibly crucial for transfusions. If you give someone the wrong blood type, those antibodies are going to go on the attack and it can cause a really bad reaction.
That makes sense. You definitely don't want your blood cells clumping up together inside your body. So we've got the ABO system with the A and B antigens, but there's also that other thing you hear about a lot, the RH factor, right?
Right, the Rh factor. That's another key player in the blood type game. It's another antigen on the surface of red blood cells. You either have it, in which case you're Rh positive, or you don't, and you're Rh negative.
So putting it all together, you could be A positive, A negative, B positive, B negative, and so on.
Exactly. 8 main blood types in total.
Okay, so that's what we all learned in school. But I was reading through our sources for this deep dive, and I gotta say, I was totally floored by something. It said that there are way more than just these 8 blood types. Like, way more.
Oh yeah, it kind of blows your mind, doesn't it? When I first learned about it, I was like, wait, what?
Seriously, so how many blood types are we actually talking about here?
Well, buckle up because the real number is 36.
36? You're kidding me. I had no idea.
Yeah, 36 recognized blood group systems. Besides ABO and RH, there are a whole bunch of others. Most people have never even heard of them. Things like the Kell antigen, the Duffy antigen, and so on.
Wow. Okay, so are these other blood group systems important too, or are they just like minor variations?
Some of them are pretty rare, but some can be really important in specific situations. Like if someone needs a blood transfusion and they have a really rare blood type, finding a match can be a challenge. And during pregnancy, certain blood type incompatibilities can cause problems for the baby.
That's wild. I had no idea blood types could be so complex. So going back to basics for a minute, how did we even figure out this whole blood type thing in the first place? Like, who was the brilliant mind that cracked the code?
That would be Karl Landsteiner, an Austrian physician, early 1900s.
What, like way back then?
Yep, way back then. Back then, blood transfusions were, well, pretty dangerous.
Yeah, I can imagine. Like a roll of the dice, right?
Exactly. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't, and sometimes it was fatal. But Landsteiner, he started noticing that when you mix blood from different people, sometimes it would clump up.
Clump up, huh?
Yeah. He figured out that this clumping was happening because of incompatible blood types. Like those antibodies we talked about earlier were attacking the foreign blood cells. He basically laid the foundation for the whole ABO system.
Wow, that's incredible. So it wasn't just some random lab experiment. It was a huge medical breakthrough.
Absolutely. His work completely revolutionized medicine. Transfusions became much safer, and it paved the way for all sorts of other medical advancements.
So I'm curious, are blood types like evenly distributed around the world? Or are there some blood types that are more common in certain regions?
That's a great question, and it turns out that blood type distribution does vary quite a bit across the globe.
Really? I always assumed it was pretty even across the board. Why would it be different in different regions?
Well, it's thought to be due to a combination of factors. Migration patterns, genetic drift, maybe even things like disease outbreaks in the past could have influenced the distribution. For example, type B blood is more common in Asia than in Europe.
Huh, interesting. Do things like your age or your sex or even the food you eat have any effect on your blood type?
Nope, not at all. Your blood type is basically set from the moment you're conceived. It's all about the genes you inherit from your parents. So no matter what you eat or how old you get, your blood type's not going to change.
Got it. So thinking about the evolution of humans, if blood type is determined by genes and passed down, which blood type do scientists think came first? Like, is there an original blood type?
That is a question that researchers are still trying to figure out completely. But the prevailing theory is that type O is the oldest, potentially going back millions of years. As humans evolved and migrated across the globe, variations in the blood type genes popped up, leading to the AB and AB types. And those variations might have been advantageous in different environments or against certain diseases. It's fascinating to think about.
Yeah, it's like our blood evolved right along with us as we adapted to different parts of the world. So let's get into the stuff everyone always wants to know about. Does your blood type actually affect your health? Like, are certain blood types more prone to certain diseases?
This is where things get a little tricky. There have been tons of studies looking for links between blood type and health. Some studies have shown that certain blood types might have a slightly higher risk of certain diseases. For example, some research suggests that people with type A blood might be slightly more prone to some types of cancer.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah, and there's some evidence that people with type O blood might have a slightly lower risk of heart disease. But it's important to remember that these are just correlations. It doesn't mean that if you have type A blood, you're definitely going to get cancer. It's much more complicated than that.
So should people with certain blood types be more worried about specific diseases?
I wouldn't say so. These are just potential tendencies, not guarantees. Lifestyle factors, genetics, environmental factors, all these things play a much bigger role in your overall health than your blood type alone.
Okay, that makes me feel a little better. Now, what about the Rh factor? We hear a lot about that during pregnancy. Is there a reason why it's so important then?
Yeah, the Rh factor can definitely be a concern during pregnancy, especially if the mother is Rh negative and the baby is Rh positive.
What happens then?
Well, if some of the baby's blood gets into the mother's bloodstream, her body might start producing antibodies against the Rh factor.
Uh-oh, that doesn't sound good.
It can be a problem. If those antibodies cross the placenta and get back into the baby's circulation, they can attack the baby's red blood cells.
Wow, so it's like the mother's immune system is attacking the baby.
Kinda, yeah. It's called Rh incompatibility. But thankfully, we have really effective medical treatments now that can prevent this from happening.
That's a relief. Okay, I have to ask about this because I used to be totally obsessed with it. The whole blood type personality thing. Is there any actual science behind that?
Uh-huh. Yeah, the blood type personality theory, it's really popular in some cultures.
Oh, yeah, especially in Asia. I remember reading all about it. Like, if you're type A, you're supposed to be all organized and responsible. And if you're type B, you're more creative and free-spirited.
Right. It's fun to think about, but unfortunately, there's just no real scientific evidence to support it.
Really? So it's just a fun cultural thing.
Pretty much, yeah. People have always been fascinated by personality and what makes us who we are. And blood types are something tangible, something you can measure. So it's natural to try and connect the two. But just like with horoscopes, it's more about entertainment and finding patterns where they might not actually exist.
Makes sense. Speaking of practical matters, why is it so important to know your blood type if you need a transfusion or if you're donating blood?
Because giving someone the wrong blood type can be extremely dangerous. Remember those antibodies we talked about? They're there to protect you. But if you get the wrong blood type, those antibodies can trigger a serious, sometimes even life-threatening reaction.
So it's like a mismatched blood transfusion can cause chaos inside your body.
Exactly. That's why matching blood types is absolutely crucial. And that's also why it's so important for people to donate blood. You never know who might need your specific blood type to save their life.
So on that note, can you remind us how much blood we actually have sloshing around in our bodies and what it does? It seems like it does a lot.
It really does. The average adult has about 5 liters of blood constantly circulating, delivering oxygen, removing waste products, transporting nutrients, fighting off infections, regulating body temperature. It's truly amazing.
Wow, 5 liters, that's a lot. It really is incredible how much our blood does for us without us even realizing it.
I know, right? And you know what's even cooler? We're still learning so much about blood and all its potential. Like, researchers are working on creating artificial blood that could work for anyone, regardless of their blood type.
Whoa, that would be a game changer.
Absolutely. And who knows what other amazing discoveries are waiting to be made.
Well, I think we can all agree that blood is pretty amazing. We've learned that blood types are way more complex than just those A, B, O, and ABs we learned about in school, and they might even give us some clues about our evolutionary history. Plus, they highlight how amazingly intricate the human body really is. What stands out to you the most from all this?
I think what gets me is that even with all our scientific advancements, we still haven't unlocked all the secrets of blood. Like, what if we could figure out a way to harness the power of blood to cure diseases or even reverse aging? The possibilities are pretty mind-blowing.
That is an awesome thought. Makes you realize there's so much more to learn. Well, thanks for taking us on this deep dive today. It's been fascinating. And to our listeners, I hope you learned something new and maybe even got inspired to learn more about the amazing world of blood. Thanks for listening.